afternoon.
How are you doing, Fraser?
I'm all right. How's yourself?
Not too bad, thanks.
Good, good. Do you want to start us off with the injury situation, please, Sam?
It's actually pretty good, I think. Best since I've been here. I think that Mr. Stecklenburg's nearly joining in training, back again. Leighton's not on the field yet in training, but he's in a full mode for recovery. He's running, and we would expect by the time we play Watford, he'll certainly be clear of the injuries that he's had. We'll keep everybody else fit. So from that point of view, injuries have been or are pretty good. Especially when I arrived on how many injuries there were, of course, and some were long-term injuries that we seem to have recovered from, and hopefully keep them fit. Unfortunately, James is recovering from his broken leg, but it's nice to say that there's less than a handful of players injured at the moment.
You were pretty scathing after the Arsenal defeat. What sort of a reaction have you seen from the players in training this week?
Like you would expect, I think that the lads have accepted that we've all accepted that we were not able to compete with Arsenal. But I think in reality, at the end of the day, an Arsenal team as good as that punishes a lot of teams and punishes a lot of teams this season on their own soil, and we found that difficult to cope. Certainly in the first 30-35 minutes, I have to say there was a spirited recovery that would be forgotten about when you see 5-1, but there was a spirited recovery in the second half by the players. But yes, it was one that we have to react to in the right way, and our overall away results have to improve. We know that. And it's not just since I've arrived. It was there for all to see before I came here. At least we did manage to get a win at Newcastle, and a draw at West Brom. But we want more than that if we can.
Probably a debut that wasn't the most memorable for Eliakim Mangala. Was it maybe some of those mitigating circumstances that you mentioned about how good Arsenal were, or was it too much to expect him to make too big a positive impact?
Well, you can only make an impact if the rest of the players are playing to their abilities and their capabilities, and we weren't as a team, especially the first 30 minutes. But as I say, there was nothing wrong with his performance in the second half, like all the players, because it actually took the game to Arsenal and created more chances in the second half. And like I said, that only I would know that, because it's my job to study the whole game. Obviously, your job is to write about the fact that we've been beaten 5-1, which is a very poor result indeed to accept. But the whole performance wasn't really what we were looking for. But certainly there was a reaction to the second half performance, which shows, like I said in the press conference after, it's one of those blips that we've got to get over and get over it quick. The team have managed to do that because they, as Brian told me and I said at the time, we've created more opportunities by gaining points from behind than most teams in the Premier League. So we don't always fall foul to a heavy defeat. We actually lose a goal and actually come back and get a result quite well and as good as any team in the Premier League. So we've not really to forget that on one isolated incident at that particular time.
So is it a question now of you being able to focus on some of those positives, particularly from that second half, to try and make something out of the rest of the season?
Well, it's focusing on our own form. I'm a 3-2-1. Yeah, did you used to watch that?
Yeah, I did, yes.
Yeah, we've won 3, drawn 2 and only lost 1 since I've been here, so that's out of 6 games. So our own form is very good. Our own form is our best way of staying in the top half if we can, and first of all avoiding the threat of relegation. But our own form has to be continued, starting with Crystal Palace on Saturday again, as it was against Leicester on the Wednesday. So when you're looking at us in the light of, yes, away results are not so good, but our own form is pretty good at this moment in time, and there's only Manchester United beat us at Goodison in the last 6 games, which is a positive for us to look at and say, as like Arsenal, they go to Swansea and lose comfortably, come back and play really, really well, and beat us comfortably. We want to hopefully repeat that if we can on Saturday against my old club, Crystal Palace.
And they've been in great form, haven't they? 2 defeats in 10 so they're not going to make it easy for you either.
No, they won't. And it's a great turnaround from Roy and the lads, but it was always in the players, and Roy's managed to bring it out of them. Because it's more or less the same players, I think, that I had. I think there's only Fossa Mensah that's playing in the team at the moment that wasn't there when I was there. I think everybody else was, but they've got some really good strengths in the side, which me and Sammy, Ryland and Martin all know about. But really, at Goodison, it's about us, really. It's about us playing to our best. It's about us playing like we did against Leicester and trying to win the game. Yes, we have to be concerned here and there about Crystal Palace's strengths, particularly the front three. But I think that Wilf may have a problem, so might not be playing. So that may be an advantage to us. But like I said, if you want to take an advantage, you have to play your best. And have to play your best game in every game you're playing in the Premier League to get a result. And we'll certainly have to play our best game against Crystal Palace, because they've been very good and very resilient from a very difficult position. So, hats off to the players and Roy for how he's mastered and battled their way through that.
The game sees the 30th anniversary of Everton in the community, which is a great landmark, isn't it? Something that you're obviously very, very proud of.
Well, I've only had a small time with the community, of course, and of course can't speak highly enough about the community as a whole across every football club, because they all do a fantastic job, but none more so than Everton for me. I've never seen anybody that does as much for the community as Everton Football Club does, and I think they've got freedom of the city, and rightly so. I mean, they give so much comfort to so many people. It really is a great effort by the football club, and I think that we're all celebrating that effort this week on after the game on Tuesday. So we will all be there. We'll all be there supporting the community, and hope it continues to grow and continues to be a major success.
John Moss is going to be the referee in charge. Had a bit of a nightmare last weekend at Anfield. I don't know how much you saw of that. Any concern about that, or are you got a bit of sympathy for him?
I think he chose to do the right thing and talk it out. So, and then come to the decision. Whether that decision was right or wrong, only him and his bosses have to discuss that and can come to the conclusion on where and when. But I think that the only thing that they didn't do was cover the mouth up, like everybody says you've got to these days, because the camera goes so close and listening to what they're saying. But I thought they decided to talk it out with the assistant referee.
Just the last couple. According to reports, David Unsworth turned down the Oxford job. I don't know whether you're aware of that at all. Is he somebody you'd prefer to see staying at Everton on a long-term basis, given the history that he's got with his club?
Well, I think David's expressed his will to be a manager, hasn't he? So I'm not so sure my opinion makes any difference whether he should or shouldn't stay, because I haven't been here long enough. I think that's a board decision. And David's decision in his own right. If he feels that he needs to take the opportunity to be a manager, then there's a lot of people that have worked with me that had that same desire and have gone on to be managers and gone on to be good managers. But he's got a great position at the club at the moment, and that's a very difficult decision for him to give up. I'm sure about that, because Everton under 23 is a very privileged position, and he's done very well in it. But if his desire is to be a manager, then he's somewhere along the line he's going to have to take the plunge.
Just finally, we saw Patrice Evra signing for West Ham a couple of days ago. Was he ever a player that you were interested in the last few weeks?
No, because we got Leighton Baines coming back very shortly, and Leighton's similar experience to Patrice, and obviously Patrice is a little bit older, so Leighton will be back very shortly, so I didn't think that would be necessary at this stage of the season. We tried to sign a left back throughout the whole of the January window, but were unable to do so.
Thank you very much, Sam.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Okay, thank you guys.